Here's my video of the easiest way to process acorns. You just let them soak in warm water before you boil them. So I'm letting them soak. And then, these are the bigger northern acorns. I think they're from white oak. And here they are after they're soaked. I have that. I have my little grocery paper bag that I do all this stuff in. And my pliers. And then here they are after. When you soak your acorns for like maybe 10 minutes, they're this easy to crack. Take them just like a nutcracker, and you squeeze tight. Whoop, there it goes. And there went half of it. And I'm trying to hold the camera with one hand, but then as you can see, you can easily pull it out if I had both my hands, but my other hand's holding the camera. But then you pull it out, and you have these. Once you do all these, taking the shell out, you put them all in the boiling water. You boil the water, and the yellow or orange, in this case would be yellow tannin, which is bitter to your stomach. You got to boil that tannin out, and then you boil the water for about 5 minutes, and then pour that water out, keeping the acorns in. These acorns, not these parts, but once they're deshelled. And then you empty the water and reboil it. Fill it with water again, boil it again. And then if the water's not clear yet, you pour that water out, keep the acorns in there, and you put more water in, and you boil it a third time, and a fourth time, and maybe a fifth time. And then when the water's out, then you pour the water out and you're done boiling. Then you either dry them, put them in your oven to roast them. You can grind them into a powder, or you can roast them and have them as nuts next to a bowl of your other nuts at your coffee table. Or you can grind them into a powder and mix it into a powder, mix it with flour, and you can grind it into a flour, mix it with flour, and make cornbread flour. There's so many different recipes if you look on the internet for acorns. These are the bigger white oak. You can still use any kind of acorn. You just let them sit in water for 10 minutes. That'll make them more to where you can crack them with a pair of pliers. You take the nuts, you take the shell off, and then you have to boil them like 3 or 4 times. And then you can prepare them any way you want. Either after that, set them in your oven. I'm not sure of how hot, but just to roast them, make them just like peanuts. Roast them so you can put them on your coffee table, and they'll last for days once you roast them. But just remember to boil out the tannin, the orange or yellow, depending on the type of acorn it is. It'll have an orange or yellow tannin. You have to redo the water, reboil them 3 or 4 times until all the tannin is washed out. Acorns have protein, lots of vitamins, and some of them are super sweet. These northern white oak, I think these are white oak acorns. This is what they look like when they come off the tree. They're the bigger ones. I'm from Florida. They got the smaller ones in Florida. The smaller ones in Florida have more tannin, so you have to probably boil them a few more times. And they're harder to crack. You want to soak them more than 10 minutes before you crack them. But just soaking them in warm water, you want to have the hot water, and put hot water in there from tap water. But the Florida, or the smaller acorns from the different acorn trees, oak trees, have more tannin. These are the white oaks. These you could practically eat the way they are, but they might still have a slight bitter taste, so you still have to boil out that bitterness, which is called tannin, T-A-N-N-I-N. It's depending on the acorn type. It's a yellow or an orange tannin that you have to boil out, because if you eat too many without boiling them out, it'll make your stomach bitter. If you're in the woods and you don't have access to boiling water, if you don't have a pot or a camping fire, you can take a shirt or some kind of material and soak them in water for like 24 hours. It has to be a running, flowing river. And after you crack them, crack the shells, of course, and it'll flow out some of the tannin. But if you're in the woods, you need to find a way to make a fire anyway, so you might as well boil these. Either way, you could boil them in the woods. I'm going to show you a picture of me eating these because these are the white oak, so they're not bitter at all. Watch, I haven't even boiled these yet. I just soaked them. Here's the acorn bit. I just ate half of it. It's actually sweet. I haven't even boiled them yet. It tastes slightly bitter because I haven't boiled it yet. But the smaller acorns you definitely want to boil. Have fun. Forage. And there's lots of food in the forest that you can't buy at the grocery stores, but it might keep you alive one day.